2.35%. If you're watching the S&P 500 right now, you're looking at the wrong screen. While the retail crowd is obsessing over whether a tech giant beat earnings by a penny, the smart money is staring at a flicker on a screen in Tokyo. The most dangerous number in global finance right now isn't an earnings report or a Fed dot plot. It's the yield on the 10-year Japanese government bond, JGB. In mid-January 2026, the JGB market didn't just move, it broke. Yields spiked from 2.18% to 2.35% in a matter of days. Now, to a stock trader, that sounds like a rounding error. But in the world of sovereign debt, where trillions of dollars are priced off these decimals, that move was absolute violence. The bond vigilantes in Tokyo finally woke up to the math and shut off the global ATM. Japan is the canary in the coal mine. What is happening there, a sovereign debt crisis triggered by fiscal recklessness, is the preview for the United States and Europe. We are entering the era of the debasement trade. And if your portfolio is still structured like it's 2019, you aren't just behind the curve, you are about to get run over. Let's dive in. To understand the global picture, we have to start in Tokyo. For decades, Japan was the poster child for the theory that it doesn't matter how much you borrow. The Bank of Japan, BOJ, owned the market, they capped the yields, and the world kept spinning. That ended this month. Between January 16th and January 20th, the 10-year JGB yield ripped upward, settling near that 2.26% to 2.35% range on January 23rd. In the bond world, moves like that aren't volatility, they're violence. What triggered it? Politics met simple math. Prime Minister Takaichi announced a massive fiscal expansion, roughly 5 trillion yen in tax cuts per year. That's about 0.8% of their GDP. It was a Liz Truss moment, but with a 230% debt to GDP ratio. Here's the problem. Japan's public debt is projected to hit nearly 230% of GDP by the end of 2025. When you have that much debt and you announce more borrowing to fund tax cuts, you are telling the bond market that you have no intention of ever paying back the principal in real terms. Here's the funny thing about the current Japan bond meltdown. None of this is new. Japanese bonds have been thought of as dead money for a generation. No yield, no economic growth, and a declining population. This is why, even though this episode created plenty of fear-mongering headlines, the contagion was initially contained at the Japanese shores. But the market reaction was swift for investors in JGB-dominated assets. They realized that the Ministry of Finance would have to issue a tidal wave of new bonds to fund this deficit. Supply is going up, demand is questionable. So price goes down and yields up. Now you might ask, why doesn't the Bank of Japan just buy it all? They can, and that is the trap. If the BOJ steps in to crush these yields back down, they have to print yen to buy the bonds. That destroys the currency. If they don't step in, yields spike, and the Japanese government becomes insolvent because they can't afford the interest payments. This is a classic doom loop. Japan has to choose between saving its bond market or saving its currency. They cannot save both. And historically, when a sovereign nation faces this choice, they sacrifice the currency. Why should you care about Japanese tax cuts? Because capital is fluid, and Japan was the lifeblood of cheap global leverage. For years, the Japanese yen was the funding currency for the world. Hedge funds borrowed cheap yen to buy US tech stocks, US Treasuries, and corporate credit. This is the carry trade your Greenwich colleagues brag about. For a long time, it was simple but lucrative. When JGB yields rise, that cheap funding dries up. The cost of leverage goes up globally. But the bigger issue is the signal this sends to the rest of the G7 central banks. We are entering a period of global fiscal dominance. This is a fancy institutional term that means the government spends so much money that the central bank has no choice but to monetize the debt. Look at the US. We aren't that far behind Japan. Annual interest on our debt is now hitting $1.19 trillion. When the bond market sniffs out that a government is entering a debt spiral, where they borrow just to pay interest on previous borrowing, investors stop buying bonds for yield. They start selling bonds to avoid default or devaluation. This is the debasement trade. In a normal market, when stocks go down, bond yields rise. They hedge each other. In a debasement trade, stocks and bonds can fall together in real terms because the underlying currency is losing purchasing power. The government's response to a bond sell-off is always the same: yield curve control. They will print money to cap rates. They will inject liquidity. This is crucial to understand. In 2026, the risk isn't that the government defaults and stops paying you. The risk is that they do pay you, but they pay you in currency that is worth significantly less than when you bought the bond. They will inflate away the debt. That is the only mathematical way out of a 230% debt to GDP ratio. And that means your cash and your long-duration bonds are guaranteed to lose purchasing power. I'm not here to crap on holders. The fact that digital currencies have survived enough FUD to emerge as a legitimate asset class is admirable. But doesn't this make you question the Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and currency debasement mantra? Charts don't lie. The dollar is at a 5-year low versus major currencies, while Bitcoin is not holding up its hedging pact. Digital gold? Nah, it is what it is. A speculative asset that, without its historical volatility, has lost its sexiness for institutional desks. Okay, enough of the Bitcoin talk. So, what does this do to your portfolio? If you are sitting in a traditional 60-40 portfolio, 60% equities, 40% bonds, you are exposed. That 40% allocation to bonds was supposed to be your hedge against risk-off in equities. It was supposed to protect you when volatility hit. But look at what happened in January with the JGBs. As yields spiked, bond prices crashed. If that happens in the US Treasury market and the correlation is rising, your safe assets become the source of your biggest losses. You are holding a promise to be paid back in depreciating fiat. You need to stop thinking in nominal terms. If the stock market goes up 10%, but the currency is debased by 12% due to liquidity injection, you lost money. You just have more paper with less value. In this environment, the environment of the Japan sell-off and global fiscal expansion, you need assets that have no counterparty risk. You need assets that cannot be printed by a politician trying to buy votes with a tax cut. This brings us to gold. I don't look at gold as a commodity. I don't look at it as a jewelry input. In the institutional world, gold is a currency. It is the only currency that isn't someone else's liability. When Japan loses control of its yield curve, or when the Fed is forced to monetize US debt, they are increasing the supply of fiat. They cannot increase the supply of gold. In a debasement trade, gold is the primary hedge. It is the anti-bond. It is a real asset. When investors see the JGB yields spiking and realize the BOJ has to print, they flee to gold. Gold emphatically broke through the psychological $5,000 barrier on January 26, 2026. Investors aren't buying because they expect to get rich, but because they expect the yen, the dollar, and the euro to get poor. Allocating to gold right now isn't speculation. It's insurance against the bond market breaking. If the bond vigilantes in Japan continue to liquidate, and that pressure moves to US Treasuries, the only asset that historically holds the line is gold. The era of easy money is over. The era of easy consequences is over. Japan is showing us the future. High debt, rising yields, and desperate central banks debasing their currency to keep the system afloat. Don't let your portfolio be collateral damage in their experiment. Look at the plumbing. Watch the yields. And hedge your exposure to the sovereign debt bubble. With all of the market risks hitting the tape in 2026, from currency debasement and a more dovish Fed chair coming in a few months to a midterm election year, make volatility your friend. Keep some dry powder for the over-exaggerated market swings. Remember Liberation Day last year and the market opportunities to be had if you could see through the noise. Don't miss out again. I'll see you on the next trade. Stay liquid.